We are going to talk about branches and why do we need branches and what are the branching strategies we can use to work efficiently with our code. Whenever we do any commits on our repositories, we might have seen that a branch called master is updating, right? So by default, whenever we create a repository, it creates a branch called master and all our commits are go and sit on the master branch. Master branch is a default branch which comes whenever we create a repository. Apart from master branch, we can create our own branches, and after creating our own branches, we can remove the master branch as well. It is not mandatory that you should maintain master branch. It is just a default branch which comes while creating our repository. But most of the cases, if we are practicing, we usually do on our master branch itself. So now, what are the advantages of using branches? Before talking about branches more deeper, let's understand how DevOps flow works. Then we can come back to the branches so that you can understand better. This is the big picture of DevOps, okay? A typical DevOps workflow where we have source code management system, nothing but SCM. I can replace this one with GitHub as well, but let me keep it as a generic as a SCM. Now our code is available over here. Whenever our code is available over here in the DevOps workflow, the code can be pulled by a build tool and it builds the code and also it do the unit testing, code quality analysis, code security analysis. All this testing and analysis it do to make sure that our code is following code standards or we are writing better code for this application. Once this is done, if our build is successful, it is going to create artifacts. Artifacts nothing but the outcome of our code compilation. If it is a Java code, we build var or jar files as a outcome file. If it is a .NET, we get .exe files. Like that, what kind of code you are building, the outcome of the artifacts may vary. Once we got artifactories, we need to deploy it on the server. To deploy it on the server, we can use deployment tools. This is the typical workflow which happens in the DevOps. Now to understand better, we will just avoid all this and we'll talk about only SCM and server. And this is already in place and everything is working fine. If that is the case, this is my development system where I want to push my code onto the GitHub. Okay, in GitHub we have master branch. Now I would like to push my code over here. Whatever code we are pushing over here, it get built and test and generate artifacts and get deployed into the server. That is the workflow it is happening. Just assume that it is already in place. Now I'm building my code and I have done my first commit on my master branch. Whenever I do my first commit on my branch, I don't know whether this code is working fine or not, but as a DevOps workflow, it takes that code and build, test, and deploy it on the server. Assume that this code is working fine and I have deployed application is working fine. Okay, thanks for the DevOps process which made my process very easy. Now again, I would like to do some changes to my code. Why? Because this is not complete code, it is a piece of code. Now I come up with new changes. Whenever I pushed my code, there is some bug, but build is successful and we deployed that application on the server. Now, the application which was running fine earlier, it may break down due to the latest code, whatever I have pushed. And this is not one-time process. We regularly do our commits on the master branch. And each time whenever we do our commit, we are not sure whether this code is going to work or not on the server. Then there is no point of taking or deploying each piece of code, right? That is where branches comes into the picture. If we create a new branch and only pushing working code onto that branch and deploying from the new branch is more efficient way of handling, right? Now this is working code. Now I have pulled this code onto other branch and in this branch I have enabled my DevOps workflow. Now, whenever I see code on only production branch, then only the build and deployment will happen on this system. Otherwise, it won't happen. Let's assume that this code is working fine. I have checked in that code into the production branch and it get deployed over here. My application is working fine. Now, next code, this is not working. So I'm not pushing onto production branch. This is also not working. Now this code is working. Now I'm going to pull or check in that code onto the production system and replace the old application with the new application. Again, this time also my server is up and running. Why? Because previous code was working and this code is also working. Next, again, we have enhanced our application with a few more features and it is also working. Then I can check in that code onto production branch and replace the existing application. In this case, your system is always up and running and your customers may not face any problem. Moreover, they can see the latest features on the application without any problem. That is what we are expecting, right? In this case, if I am only using master branch, each and every deployment I need to worry whether my code is working or not. Whenever I create another branch and if I am deploying from this branch, I can confidently say that this is working code. That is how branches helps us to avoid problematic code get deployed onto the systems. Now, you may ask that how do we know this code is working fine or not? That I am going to explain in the next video where we talk about branching strategies.